Does Modern Warfare have a camping problem? In order for me to talk about this 5 days after the game's release, I have to put a giant disclaimer in front of this video. All of these opinions are based off of playing the beta and 5 days of the game being out. Call of Duty shifts and changes over time, and we do not know what Modern Warfare will be. We can only talk about how we are experiencing it as individuals right now. Modern Warfare will shift and change over time, just like every single Call of Duty that's come before it. As people unlock new items and weapons, they grow more confident with the game's mechanics on a basic level and on a more technical level. As people learn the maps, the game will change. As the developers learn how to fix the spawns in certain maps, the game will change. It's not as simple as the people that play it are dumb, or the people that play it are playing it wrong, or the maps are bad so the game is bad. It's not that simple. In my opinion, the game is a lot more complex than that, and it will evolve over time. Nothing is written in stone, and I think a lot of people are putting a little too much weight into their first impressions. They're being a little irrational, a little reactionary, and I think a lot of them are using it to get views. And I can't blame them. I've done that before on this channel, and right now I'm kind of chiming in on the topic for views. I just hope that anybody that runs a channel and has any influence on the community at all talks about the game as a changing piece of software and not just a problem that requires their solution, because that's intellectually dishonest and will not encourage this community to think critically, which I believe it already has trouble doing. So, now that we've gotten all that junk out of the way, do I think Modern Warfare has a camping problem? Before I can begin to answer the question, I have to be clear with my bias. My bias that I carry around like an illness that people believe to be contagious, avoiding me at the mere mention of said bias. I think the last 5 years of FPS games followed the trend of speeding up the gameplay, simplifying the maps, and limiting the amount of things players can do to their opposing team in any given match. Doom, Infinite Warfare, Titanfall 2, Overwatch, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, Black Ops 3, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 4, most of the maps in COD World War II, all have, to me, at this point, an obnoxious pace. And even Rainbow Six Siege, when you play at higher levels, the games go by very, very quickly, and people are very, very aggressive. Now, I'm okay with it in one game. I wasn't okay with it in all of the games I mentioned. It fatigued the hell out of me. I'm not saying that those games aren't fun. All the ones I just mentioned, I've had my fun in from time to time, some to greater degrees than others, but they followed this trend of simplification and shrinking down the amount of things that players can do to each other. Now, when you have complex maps like you have in Modern Warfare here, even if they're obnoxiously campy, I'm going to be okay with them right now because it's a change of pace from the thing that I've been complaining about for years. I would say since 2016, I have not really been enjoying FPS games as much as I was before, and I have been crying, kicking, and screaming for a game that reminds me of something like Black Ops 1 or Call of Duty Ghosts. People might not want to admit it, but Modern Warfare is more in line with those games than they are something like Black Ops 4, Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 3, Advanced Warfare. I'm trying to say that my bias kind of resides in this area where even if Modern Warfare had a serious, definitive, scientifically proven camping problem, I wouldn't mind so much because it's a breath of fresh air in comparison. After Call of Duty was just boots on ground and felt very repetitive, Advanced Warfare was a breath of fresh air. Now, I can't even look at Advanced Warfare because I see it as the root of all of my current problems with FPS games. It depends on the mood I'm in, it depends on how much we've gotten. Everybody wants a game like Modern Warfare 2, but everybody back then used to criticize games like Modern Warfare 3 for being too much like Modern Warfare 2. Basically, Modern Warfare 2.5, what a shit show. All of this is to say, I keep digressing, but all of this is to say that if Call of Duty Modern Warfare was too slow and too campy, I'd be okay with it because I believe that the last several Call of Duty games and many AAA FPS games have been too fast. And that's why over the last couple of years I've been dabbling in things like Insurgency and Squad, games that force you into being slow and methodical and tactical. And what I love about Modern Warfare is that right now, although I don't feel like I'm playing a realistic military simulator, and I don't feel like I'm even playing something as hardcore as Insurgency, but it's more along those lines. It more fits into the mold. Let me put it to you another way. What if you wanted a steak and cheese sandwich? Just bread, steak, and cheese. And your friend offers to make you that because, sure, a friend out there would offer to make you that. And your friend gets the wrong kind of bread that you don't really like that much. and the cheese doesn't get all the way melted when he makes the sandwich, and the meat's a little overcooked, so the sandwich is kind of meh. But because you're craving a steak and cheese sandwich, even if it's not the best steak and cheese sandwich, you're kind of okay because it's scratching that little itch you have. Something that happened to me recently is that I was going through a little bit of a caffeine withdrawal. I was getting a headache because, my body wanted caffeine and I was not giving it caffeine. And so, to scratch that itch, I drank a cold cup of black coffee, which is kind of nasty, but it made my headache go away. And I drank it with a smile because I knew what it was doing. It wasn't tasty, it wasn't what I would ask for at a restaurant, but it did the job. Now, I'm not saying Modern Warfare is as bad as cold black coffee or a poorly made sandwich, but I'm saying that even its little flaws here and there don't bother me right now because it's scratching the itch. Now, away from my bias, away from the disclaimers, away from all of that, does Modern Warfare have a camping problem? 6 minutes into your video, boom, does it have a camping problem? I can't sit here forever, I have a life. Yes, it does. And it's not because of the maps. At least I don't think so. The maps don't help, but I believe several things are kind of causing this problem. Now, first things first is the minimap. Now, this problem could go away as people learn to use the compass better, but in my opinion, Modern Warfare would benefit greatly from the classic minimap system returning to Call of Duty. Even though I did a video about the 12 things in Modern Warfare that increase situational awareness and should limit the amount of times you feel bamboozled by enemy players, people will be more aggressive as they gain situational awareness, and if they just got to see enemies on minimaps firing unsuppressed weapons, they're gonna be more prone to act. Right now, if you're across the map firing an unsuppressed weapon, all you are is a little red circle on my compass. I don't know how far away you are, I don't know what elevation you're at, and I don't exactly feel motivated to go and hunt you down. If I knew that you were in a building just across the wall from me, and that's where you are, and you're on the top story of it because it gives me the little arrow that lets me know where you are, I might go and seek and destroy your ass. And if you don't want someone seeking and destroying you, you need to throw in a suppressor, which limits your customization options a little bit, but then at least you have to spec your class into hiding. I don't need to describe the system. Some people were saying we need to test out the classic system. We don't need to test out the classic system. Go play COD Ghosts. Go play Modern Warfare 2. And watch what happens when someone fires an unsuppressed weapon. They show up like a Christmas tree on the minimap, and everybody on the enemy team seeks and destroys that person. You can avoid that by running a suppressor, and I believe that's a fair trade-off. So I think that would promote some more aggressive play. Second, the sound. Your footsteps in the game are very loud, and the game pretty much forces you to wait until your Dead Silence field upgrade is charged before you rush a team of competent campers. Otherwise, they're gonna hear your footsteps, they're gonna pinpoint the location of them, and they're gonna take you out. And that is going to encourage them to wait for you to come to them because they can hear you coming already. And that's just human nature. When I hear footsteps, I don't think, I'm gonna go challenge this person to a 50-50 gunfight. I go, no, they're getting closer, I'm just gonna wait for them to walk in front of me. I have no sense of valor, this is Call of Duty, grow up. I think making footsteps a little bit quieter, and maybe heavily reducing the sounds of footsteps that are, behind walls, meaning if you're in a room and someone's outside, really quiet down those people outside, because you can hear footsteps from insides of buildings, even if all the doors closed, you can hear footsteps really well. I just think if they're outside your building, they should be a lot quieter. That way, people aren't encouraged to just sit and wait for the footsteps. Another thing they could do to make people play a little bit more aggressively is create a reason to not use a lethal and tactical. Allow people to give up their lethals and tacticals in order for another weapon perk, or a wild card to use 2 perks in one tier, or more attachments on their gun. I don't care. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Guaranteeing everybody that spawns in a claymore is a dumb idea. I'm okay with you using a claymore, there's perks to counter that. I don't like the fact that you get it for free, and I have to give up the things I want to use in order to counter your dumbass sitting in a building with 2 of them. Cause yeah, you just throw in the shrapnel perk, and then you have 2 claymores. And I find that to be pretty goddamn asinine. It's one of the things the Pick-10 system got absolutely right, is that you have to give up things for your free kill machines, which is what a claymore is. Now there's one more thing here to discuss. Camping is not something that is equally defined by everybody as the same thing. That is to say that some people think that if you just wait on a lane, you're camping. I personally don't think that watching a lane is camping, sniping is camping. I don't think listening to my footsteps and then waiting for me is camping. What I think camping is when somebody makes an effort to sit on every rooftop, sit in every building, camp in every corner, and use claymores and landmines and everything at their disposal to not move and to just have you come into their trap. And these people would have a lot harder time if the minimap worked the way it used to, footsteps were not as pronounced, especially through walls, and that these people were not guaranteed a claymore if they choose it on every respawn. I think you should have to give something up to have a lethal and tactical. Doing these things would not completely eliminate camping. Obviously, these maps have lots of great power positions that people are going to want to hold, whether it's a head glitch spot on a wall or a building with lots of windows and closing doors that you can just kind of lock down. That's part of the game, and I'm okay with that. It's a change of pace from what Call of Duty's been recently, and I'm for it. But we can reward camping a little less, we can promote it less. It's gonna happen anyway. But we might as well make people have to alter their classes in order to do it well. That way, if you want to camp, you have to throw in a suppressor, you have to give up something for your claymore, and you better crank your volume all the way up if you want to sound whore the same way you're doing right now if they were to nerf the footstep sounds, or buff dead silence to a really high degree. I'm okay with this game promoting camping like, 10% more than it does aggressive play. But right now it kind of feels more like 30 to 40%, and in a lot of matches I don't really feel encouraged to rush or play aggressively, and I'm noticing this more and more in my play sessions, that I don't feel like I could do it. Now when I do it, it feels great, but mostly because I know that the odds are kind of stacked against me when I do it. Because right now I only feel confident when my dead silence is charged, I have a UAV up in the air, and I have one of the two perks that counters claymores, which would be EOD for absorbing the blast and spotter for seeing them before you have to walk into them. And the maps are made in such a way that all a camper really needs to do is play the map. Use a window, use a head glitch spot, use a wall, use a rooftop, and they're just comfortable there. Now, I'm gonna throw up that disclaimer again. Everything I'm saying here is subject to change, and I'm not saying that Modern Warfare will always have a camping problem, but as I think right now, there is one. I just don't mind it. That's why it's hard for me to get mad about it. Everybody's freaking out, they're uninstalling, they're looking for refunds, they can't stand it, everyone's holding still, everyone's a pussy. I don't mind it. I'm having my fun with it regardless. It's nice to play a Call of Duty game that I don't feel like I need to have drank 3 cups of coffee to play. I like that I can play it slow. And if you don't like that, then it's not the game for you, and that's fair. I skipped out on Call of Duty games because I felt like they were obnoxiously fast, like the previous games were obnoxiously fast, and it was fatiguing for me to have long play sessions. Modern Warfare allows for a wider variety of playstyles. Some of those include camping, and if you can't get over that, play something else. I do think, however, that the scales are tipping too far towards those conservative playstyles, and that people that run and gun shouldn't be as punished as they are right now. I think giving them more intel, dampening their footsteps, and reducing the likelihood, even if by a small percentage, of claymores that they're going to run into, that would be just phenomenal. That'd go a long way to promoting playstyle variety instead of just promoting the conservative, sit in a building, sit in a window, if you hear footsteps, hold still and pre-aim gameplay that is going on right now. And there's lots of things they could do. They can make it that the shrapnel perk doesn't give you extra landmines or claymores. They could change the ghost perk so that it only works while you're sprinting or moving around. They could buff the absolute hell out of bullet penetration and FMJ so that people head glitching have less of an advantage if they're not behind thick cover. You can reduce flinch and decrease camping, no joke, because people are more confident in their gunfights when there's less flinch, and they are less likely to camp and wait for you, and when you do get into a gunfight with them, if they're head glitching or not much of them is showing, you have a higher chance of winning the gunfight, even if you don't shoot first exactly. Even though it's a fast time to kill game, I don't know how much that would work. I'm just saying, there's lots of things they could do. I'm not saying that these are the things that need to be done, and even if they did them, I wouldn't care. I'm saying that right now, currently, 5 days after the game has come out, I'm enjoying the pacing of the game, both in hardcore mode, core mode, realism mode, ground war. I am enjoying the game. Infinite Warfare ended up not being for me. Black Ops 4 ended up not being for me. COD World War II ended up not being for me. Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5 ended up not being for me. Titanfall 2's multiplayer ended up not being for me. Maybe Modern Warfare isn't for you, and the game doesn't need to drastically change to suit your needs. But I would like to see a wider variety of playstyles, and that can't happen if people feel punished for moving around. Thank you so much for watching. If anything is unclear, ask me a question in the comment section. I'll try to answer it to the best of my abilities, poor grammar and all. And if you made it till this point in the video, please comment camping spot in all capital letters at the end of your comment so that I know you got to this point. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, subscribe. There's links in the description. You can click them. They do things. See you when I see you guys. Goodbye.